No matter how many times I visit each place in Saudi, each experience is very different from the other. And one of the things that makes those adventures or experiences so different or unique from each other.
Hello and welcome to Arab News. We're coming to you from our studios in Riyadh, and today we have a very phenomenal content creator who's taken the online community by storm, in particularly the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We have Paris Vera. Thank you for being with us in our studios today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, really.
So, Paris, your posts have caught the attention of many to the point where you've been featured in a video for the Saudi Pavilion at the Dubai Expo 2020. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and how you were approached for this opportunity?
Yeah, so my Saudi friend Lena Malaika was approached by some directors and a producer looking for an authentic Saudi adventure, somebody that wanted to just go on an adventure. So immediately she's like, well, Paris has been traveling by car around Saudi Arabia for like 2 years now, so she's the perfect person. So, yalla, we went on an adventure to Alula and Abha, and we just had a camera crew basically kind of follow us around, a very small crew, so it stayed very authentic and just capture real moments on those adventures.
And how did that experience differentiate from visiting these destinations on a personal level by yourself?
No matter how many times I visit each place in Saudi, each experience is very different from the other. And one of the things that makes those adventures or experiences so different or unique from each other are honestly the people. It's the people who you're with and also the ones that you meet. So we had an international crew, some that had been to Saudi and love Saudi, so experiencing that with people that also love the country and having fresh faces that this is all new to them gives you life. So it's like seeing a place for the first time each time that you go. It was an incredible, one of my most memorable trips actually. And although it was for a project and a specific promo, it was all from the heart. It's something, like I said, that I'm already doing naturally. And even the director at the end of it wanted me to narrate the entire thing. So basically, he was like, write a journal entry about your authentic thoughts of traveling throughout the kingdom and your experiences you've had living here for 3 years.
Okay. And what was it like seeing the reactions and impressions of your international colleagues who were with you on this trip that have never been to Saudi? And firsthand, can you just tell us a little bit about just what kind of reactions they had before the trip and after?
Yeah, so being on this trip specifically, we had some people that had been to Saudi and some that had not. And as you know, the media in the Western world perceives the Middle East, Saudi specifically, in a very different light. So, having been here for 3 years, I've been very passionately showing to my global audience how Saudi really is. And on this trip, why it was so memorable was the people. And seeing that from people that this is the first time ever visiting it. So I'm a bit used to, although it still surprises me and I love it. It's seeing those fresh new eyes and these experiences being welcomed by random strangers on the streets inviting you for dinner. They're so confused, like, we're going to go to this stranger's house and have tea, and they're giving me gifts now and doing all of this, but they were overwhelmed by the hospitality. And this was on like a project trip. They couldn't believe. So it was really cool, and it brought that feeling of, wow, this is what it's like to see Saudi for the first time. That fresh new eyes. It was super special to see it, be with people from that viewpoint as well.
Well, that's interesting that they got to see it from a fresh new eye. So, what do you think sets the Saudi hospitality and Saudi people apart from as opposed to going to any other destination around the world? What differentiates the Saudi hospitality and people?
Having traveled around the world, honestly, I think the biggest thing that Saudi has that nowhere else does is the people. You have hospitality and you have nice people in different ways in different countries, of course. But the way it is in Saudi, it's like as if it's a number one priority. So I'm entering a coffee shop and a woman fully covered sees that I'm not from there. She is the first to get out of her seat, speak as much English, maybe one or two words as she knows to try and invite us or whoever we're with to Saudi in general, saying marhaba instantly and wanting to invite you to their family, have tea, have coffee. The hospitality here is unmatched, and that is something that needs to be headlines of Arab news. There's nothing like it, really. The people make it.
So getting back to people in Marhaba as well, you posted the video on your Twitter account saying Saudi, you had me at Marhaba, and part of the narration you had in the video is that the experiences you've had with the people is something that you will take with you moving forward.
Mhm.
So can you elaborate to us a little bit more on a personal level? Why?
Especially being a woman, a solo woman traveler, to enter a country that is very foreign to your own and actually kind of polar opposites um, to where you come from. The people are what's going to make you feel comfortable, right? It's all very foreign, and if you're entering a place, so one example is me and some of my international friends had entered a Starbucks in the city. So they say, like, it's more out in the small towns, small villages where the hospitality is a little bit richer. But I don't even find that the case, even the cities. In small instances, such as going to Starbucks, I had somebody turn around and just say, Marhaba, welcome to Saudi. And that was it. It was just those simple things that shows how the country is as a whole. And that welcome, or that feeling of Saudi, you had me at Marhaba, at hello, welcome, it should be the main headline to get you to go to Saudi. It's very true. It's the people welcome you from the moment you enter. Just that simple hello. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sure you've been greeted by many people in different parts of Saudi, and before this interview, you've just recently arrived from Al Ula, and you've been there numerous times. How do you describe Al Ula to an American audience?
Hmm. It is one of my favorite places. I could just say magic, but let's be a little bit more descriptive. Um, it's one of the most vastly beautiful places I've been. Something when you arrive from the airplane, the views arriving are phenomenal, beautiful. And just the energy when you're there, it feels different. Although once a smaller town, so maybe more traditional locals, they welcome you again as if you're part of their family. So you have that local cultural experience when you're there, as well as now that, Vision 2030, they're having more cafes and restaurants open, as well as, getting in your Land Cruiser, going off-roading, going to see the tombs. There's so many activities and things to do. They're now focusing on wellness and health, which I love. It's really cool to see Saudi offering. Al Ula offers something for everybody, which is what's really special about it.
Okay, and you've been there a couple of times, and so what is your favorite attraction? When you go to Al Ula, what is something that you just have to see, and it doesn't matter how many times you've been there, you have to go to that attraction.
Definitely Hegra. I've been countless times and it never ceases to amaze me. I make a point to always go each time I return. Super special place, really.
Yeah. And you started visiting Saudi a couple of years back, and that was mainly to visit your mom, who is here as a teacher. And from there, you started visiting different destinations and parts of Saudi Arabia, and you visited them more than once, so you've become more of a seasoned traveler. So, what makes these destinations different as you are visiting them more frequently?
As I mentioned before, honestly, each experience and each time I visit is so different because each experience is unique based on the people you meet, the people you're with. I've gone in a lot of different weather as well, like when it was winter, a bit cooler, and summer heat. That makes a bit of a difference. um, but yeah, the people. So I've done Al Ula many different times, stayed in really cool accommodation they have there, and then I've also camped for 3 days in front of Elephant Rock, where I had people coming like that knew me from Al Ula, like, but please, we have a place, like we have our farm, you can come stay here. And I'm like, guys, I want to camp in front of the rock, which was amazing. One of my favorite experiences ever in Al Ula was camping there. So yeah, each experience and the people that you meet has made it very different and fresh new eyes. It makes you feel like it's the first time every time because it's a new experience.
And what's it like camping? In Elephant Rock or other places as as a single female here in Saudi. Like, just can you give us like a small example of just what your day would be like?
Yeah. Um, so we've done to the point, having road tripped around the country, we've pulled over the side of the road when we were really tired, 2 a.m. at night, almost near Najran, near the border. And we're so tired, set up a tent on the side of the highway. I don't recommend it. It was a bit loud, but nonetheless, it shows how safe it is. It's two solo female travelers in the very, very south of Saudi, camping on the side of the highway. Never would I even do that in my own country. So sometimes there's days like that where we're in transit and we just pull over somewhere and camp. Other times there's experiences like on the coast of Hakul by Neom, where we camped along the coastline and the beach. That was super amazing. Or camping in front of Elephant Rock. What I loved about my experience camping in front of Elephant Rock was more, not just the view, obviously that's incredible, but there was a community. So in the night, there was locals that would come and set up their fire, cook food, have gawa, dates, and they'd come next door where we're just like watching the view, looking at the view, and they'd invite us over for tea and coffee. And it became this community, and they started inviting anybody that passed by and brought a huge meal for everybody. And we barely speak, Arabic, and they barely speak English, but it was just that communicating through love, the universal language. I preach this on my social media. It's one of the beautiful things about Saudi.
And what kind of food did they offer you?
It's like mansif, like kabsa type of meat, ana nabati, so mafi laham, but I'm a vegetarian, so I have actually found that there's been a lot of options as we progress here in Saudi. They always try to bring something. You can bring hummus or just rice or things like that. They always accommodate in any way that is, which is really nice.
That's interesting. So like traveling as a a vegetarian or a vegan hasn't been really much of an issue here, right?
Some regions it's a little bit difficult, but there is falafel pretty much everywhere. So usually that's our go-to when need be. But it was a struggle, a few years back, but now it's becoming a bit more common.
Okay, and let me take you to ask you a question actually that will convey the beginning of your journey. How did a girl from the Midwest leave the U.S.? What was the first place you've been to, and can you tell us how you started that journey?
Yeah, for sure. Trying to summarize this in a short period of time. Basically, when I was, I think, like 13 years old, my mom had taken me on a very difficult trip to Honduras, and we were volunteering at a local school and just helping the kids and providing them like toys, things like that. It was very, very difficult, but that was the only time I had ever been out of the country. We didn't really do many vacations, nothing like that. I come from a small town near Chicago, so yeah, you don't really leave that bubble very much. But I do think that was a turning point that kind of kicked in that travel bug. When I turned 18, I moved from Chicago and drove across the country to California, where I was solo. I did it myself and fell into acting. And in my free time, I would road trip around the country. And then the first country I went on my own was Thailand. From then on, I backpacked through Europe, went to Bali. And each time I returned, the thing I found was I had changed. I think, travel is the greatest university you could ever go to. So mentally, I had changed and grown. I had changed and grew so much that I had a hard time going back to that normality of life with the same people that you've been, for the past few years interacting with. And eventually I visited my mom, and that was the first time I unpacked my suitcase living out of my suitcase for about a year, going country to country after then. And now fully living in Saudi, I fell full in love with it unexpectedly. And here I am. Now I can do what I love, which is travel, photography, sharing my experiences, and do it here in Saudi. When I first came here, tourism wasn't even opened. I didn't even know what Alula was when I first visited, which is crazy to think all this hidden beauty I had no idea existed. And yeah, it just so happened tourism opened and it just all seemed aligned. Also, Saudi Founding Day has just been announced, as Arab News had also written about. And it's on February 22nd, which is my birthday. So I was like, oh, it was just meant to be that. It all worked out. Ana mabsuta. I'm very happy to be here. Alhamdulillah.
Well, it's nice that your birthday is coinciding with Founders Day.
Fun fact.
Fun fact, yes. Getting back to the travel bug that you got from your first trip to Honduras.
Yeah.
So just from your feelings after that, you took that trip. Just what changed? What made you say, there is more to life than being in my environment? And how has that trip awakened you, basically?
Good question. After the trip to Honduras, I would say I was a bit too young to really fully. I never really had a realization, I wouldn't say. I never felt that I had the travel bug at that point. It wasn't until I did start road tripping on my own when I became older that I felt it, and that desire to, when I'd be home, I was like antsy to go hike or go somewhere. Honestly, the biggest, I guess, epiphany I had really, which also coincided with my love for the Middle East, was when I first visited Jordan. I had no desire to visit. My mom brought me there for her birthday, and I fell completely in love with it. I was in Wadi Rum, and I had this kind of epiphany in this moment where I felt I had really changed and fell in love with travel, fell in love with the Middle East, and I craved culture and learning a new language and expanding the mind, meeting different people, hearing their stories. That was just way more fulfilling than anything I was getting from the States.
Okay. So did you when you first started traveling, I mean, it was more of experiencing, like the destination or place
hmm
you were going to. It wasn't more of creating content. So what made you want to travel the world and start creating the content that you do?
So yeah, I never had the intention of I want to create content, and I feel like it never actually even had that point of me saying I want this. I just was capturing it. I just have such an eye and love for sharing my unique lens with the world, how I see a place. And yeah, I'm a very visual person, so that just, I found my passion through that and created content naturally. It was never a choice.
Okay, so you created content naturally, and I assume, did you start off by being like, self-taught? Like, was it trial and error? And like, basically, how did you learn to enhance and adapt your craft?
Yeah, so through experience, practice, but self taught. YouTube is a great source, highly recommend. I had some friend photographers that, like, when I was in front of the camera, I'd kind of watch what they do. I'd ask what settings they'd have on. I was really interested. And when I actually told them I was going to get like a proper, professional camera, they were like, like, you don't need that much. You don't need that big camera. Just get this little one. I was like, no, but like, I really want to learn. And yeah, through that passion and desire to learn, I did, and self-taught, and then through trial and error and some edits I go back on my Instagram. Please don't. um, or yeah, I've accumulated my style only through time, basically, and practice.
And throughout this process, there must be some, posts of content that you remember fondly, or just sticks out just because of a certain experience while you're making it. Does anything stand out?
Definitely. And people ask me, "What's your favorite photo you've ever taken or posted?" And it's always hard because my a photo that I really like isn't necessarily the best one or that cool, or you'd look at it and be like, "Oh, yeah." One of my older favorite ones was attached to the experience of my first encounter with the Middle East in Jordan. So that photo of me in Wadi Rum is very special. It's like one of my favorites, and I think just because the experience, it's not the best photo. Um, yeah, and then another a photo that I really like that's kind of like art to me is actually a portrait when my face aligned with the sand dune in Qatar, and I really like that just for the photo, not for the experience.
Okay. And so you follow Arab news,
I do.
and what's your favorite part about the content that Arab news releases on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I can always count on it being the real situation. You guys don't hold back. You say things as they are, good and bad, just, showing things that maybe other news sources don't necessarily show, as, these encounters in Saudi, or even having me here, like me being able to share these experiences hopefully can touch, multiple people to open their mind to come and visit, as well as locals to be super proud of their country, as they should be.
And so, being a social media content creator, have you ever thought about taking that knowledge and content that you create and, taking it to write a, full-fledged travel column?
I accept the offer. I love writing, like me narrating the video, my captions. Yeah, I absolutely would love to do that. Love to share in any form that I can.
Okay. And I remember when we gave you a tour earlier, you liked one of the covers that we had for Arab News,
My
and
favorites.
so we made you we got you an additional copy, and
Love this one
one
so much.
one big framed one will be delivered to your house.
Voila.
Yes.
It's okay, guys. I gotta take a break. I'm gonna cry. I love this. By the way, guys, this is genius. Just a little sneak peek. It's not only is it beautiful, it's genius, and it feels super special to me. Although I'm not Saudi, although I'd love to be. It shows the change that they've gone through up until this point, and each image just signifies how things were back in the day till now, and it's beautiful. It has a lot of meaning to it for Saudi as well as I feel it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's not a problem. And what made that click, by the way, with you as a creative content creator, by the way?
This specific,
Yeah.
very visual. So since Saudi has changed so much, and it didn't always used to be super, super conservative. So to see even some American influence here in the images, Michael Jackson, all of these little things, it allowed me to relate to it a lot, as well as appreciate how far Saudi has come.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you with us. Is there anything you'd like to convey to our Arab News audience before we wrap up?
I would love for you to open your mind to come visit Saudi. You're definitely missing out if you haven't. And if you are from here, shukran jazilan. Really, thank you so much for making Saudi feel like home to me. You are the reason why this place is what it is. So keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, it's such an honor to be here. Thank you, guys. And thank you for having me very much.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for being with us, and we wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors while creating more compelling content while you travel the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you so much.
And that's all from our studios in Riyadh, and thank you for being with us again.